the Canadian Roofing Contractors Association for their hard work and dedication to the craft. We always want to make sure that roofers and other tradespeople are acknowledged and celebrated for their contributions to our country. Roofers don't just replace and repair roofs. Their work protects our homes, our workplaces, our families with cutting-edge technology, which many of us could learn more about. This Roofing Week, we want to raise awareness about the importance of this proudly Red Seal trade that is also an essential part of the larger building trades sector. The roofing industry provides well-paying jobs for thousands of Canadian families and contributes billions to our economy. From harsh winters to hot summers, roofers make sure that we're protected in all types of weather conditions. Roofers don't just seek applause or medals. Their reward lies in the satisfaction of a job well done. I want to thank the folks in the roofing industry and the larger building trades sector for the work they do and assure them that Conservatives will always have their back.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to honour the return of the unknown Newfoundland soldier who bravely fought in the First World War from 1914 to 1918. This hero is finally home and will be laid to rest on July 1st at the base of the National War Memorial in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. This is a solemn occasion for all of us as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians and Canadians to come together to pay tribute to their sacrifice and to remember the courage of all who served. During the recent trip to France, it was an honor to stand where they once stood, to read their stories and to pray at their graves, many with markers known only to God. We remember Labrador's son, John Shywock, who fought there in 1915, and many others from our great province who fought with bravery and valor. This repatriation is a testament to the struggle and sacrifice endured by these brave individuals and a significant role that Newfoundland played in the Great War. I want to recognize the veterans and advocates who made it possible, including Berkeley Lawrence, Frank Sullivan, and Gerald Budden, and all others for their dedicated work. The unknown soldier is home in Newfoundland, representing all of those from our province who fought in the Great War. We will remember them. We will honor them.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. It gives me great pleasure to highlight the honour received by my colleague, the member for Beauport, Côte-de-Beaupré, Île-d'Orléans, Charlevoix. The Great Lakes Fishery Commission presented her this year with a Water Warrior Award as a parliamentarian who, through her work and advocacy, has contributed to the health of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River. This title suits her to a T. After all, this artist MP was born in the St. Lawrence River on Île aux Coudres. Her grandfather was a captain on these very waters, and she titled her first album Sortir de l'eau, Out of the Water. The fact that a commission from the federal government of the United States and Canada decided to honor a member of the Bloc Québécois says a lot about her commitment and the quality of her advocacy at parliamentary committees. In any case, this will be great when Quebec is on that commission as a member country. Congratulations to our colleague, our water warrior. The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard Saint-Michel.
Italian Canadians' positive contributions to our country are apparent from coast to coast to coast, and more so in my riding of Saint-Léonard Saint-Michel. Que ce soit dans nos petits...
Whether in our small businesses or in multinationals, Italian talent and know-how shine throughout our community and country. As the daughter of Italian-Canadian parents, it is with great pride that I mark Italian Heritage Month. Let's be sure to recognize and celebrate the rich heritage that our parents and grandparents passed on to us through their hard work and love for this country that has become theirs, and that so many Canadians have come to know and appreciate.
From innovation to business, art, music, and cuisine, our family traditions endure through us and continue to contribute each day to Canada's great cultural mosaic. Buon mese del patrimonio italiano e buona e lunga vita a tutti gli italiani. Grazie.
The honourable member for Regina Leuven.
Today is my great pleasure to rise and congratulate the graduating class of 2024. Congratulations on reaching this very important milestone in your lives. From the beginning of kindergarten to the end of grade 12, you've grown into adults that are ready to take on the many opportunities and challenges that you'll face going forward. The skills you've learned and developed throughout your education will set you up to excel in whatever career path you choose to pursue. Your teachers, coaches, classmates, and friends have all added to the strong individuals you've become. School is just not about academics, but the all-important life lessons and experiences you have gained while navigating your first 18 years. So, to the graduating classes of 2024 in Regina Leuven schools, from Sheldon to Luther, Riffle, Winston-Knoll, and Martin, congratulations. We look forward to seeing how you, as future leaders, will contribute to our great province and our country.
Here, here. The honourable member for Surrey Newton.
Mr. Speaker, this past Sunday at the Gurdwara Sahib Brookside Canadian Ramgarhia Society in Surrey Newton, I attended the 301st birthday celebration of Maharaja Jassa Singh Ramgarhia. In the 18th century, under the banner of the Dal Khalsa, which was Confederacy of Sikh military units, Maharaja Jassa Singh Ramgarhia was a distinguished military strategist who left a lasting mark on the Sikh history. His leadership was characterized by strategic brilliance and a strong commitment to defending Sikh interests. I want to thank Gurdwara Sahib Brookside Canadian Ramgarhia Society President Balbir Singh Chana, Public Relations and past President Surinder Singh Jabbal and all their members for their unwavering dedication to building a better, more inclusive community for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, it's been 71 years since a group of Portuguese immigrants arrived on a boat named Saturnia, docking at Pier 21 in Halifax. Today, Portuguese Canadians are almost 500,000 strong, representing one of the largest Portuguese diasporas in the world. Living in vibrant communities across Canada, they're builders, musicians, athletes, business leaders, chefs, teachers, and politicians, among many other professions. Through their perseverance and hard work, they have enriched Canadian society and have transformed Canada into not only a better country, but into one that profoundly reflects our unique diversity and multiculturalism. As a Member of Parliament for Davenport, the riding with the largest number of Portuguese Canadians, I am proud to rise in the House today to celebrate the beginning of Portuguese Heritage Month in Canada. Whether it's by listening to fado, drinking vinho verde, or eating a bifana or pastiche de nata, I invite all Canadians to join me in celebrating Portuguese culture this month. Feliz mês de Portugal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
On Monday, the Prime Minister's own budget watchdog told the Finance Committee this government has a secret economic impact analysis that confirms his conclusion that Canadians pay more than they get back in phony carbon rebate checks. Yet the Prime Minister has put a gag order on the Parliamentary Budget Officer, muzzling him from speaking about this secret report and covering up the truth. Now we know the Prime Minister is intentionally hiding the truth about the carbon tax from Canadians. Instead of being open by default, as he promised in 2015, instead of being transparent with Canadians, he has intentionally hidden facts, stonewalled opposition, and gaslit Canadians about the truth of their policies, that the carbon tax makes everything more expensive for everyone and does nothing to help the environment. Will he take the muzzle off the independent parliamentary budget officer so Canadians know the truth once and for all? The Prime Minister is not worth the cost of this cover-up. It's time for a common-sense Conservative government that will axe the tax and be honest with Canadians.
The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, when the Conservative leader was housing minister, he only built 6 affordable units. Our government is focused on building affordable homes. Less than 2 years ago, I joined the housing minister and the local government officials to announce a rapid housing initiative funding. 53 million, 3 projects, 110 affordable homes for Peel, 30 million to convert a hotel into homes for Brampton. 2 weeks ago, I participated in the grand opening of Birch Place, a housing project with 67 affordable rental units. Our government is getting shovels in the ground. The Conservative leader has no plan. He doesn't care about building homes for Canadians. We are focused on working with local governments to build more homes for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
The Auditor General's report on the Liberal-Green slush fund is shocking. Liberal cronies overseeing the slush fund voted 186 times to send taxpayer money to companies they owned. That represents over 40% of the projects approved. Even worse, these Liberal swindlers gave themselves $76 million and hid their conflict from the meetings. The rot started from the top when in 2019 the Liberals knowingly appointed a person to head up the board who the Green Slush Fund was already doing business with. They were warned but appointed their conflicted cronies anyway. Tonight, Liberals have a chance to come clean. The Liberal minister and PMO staffers responsible for handpicking these slush fund swindlers will testify before committees to explain why they knowingly appointed Liberals with conflicts and did nothing when they funneled themselves taxpayer money. As Canadians struggle to pay the bills, Liberal cronies get rich on taxpayer money. Only common sense Conservatives will stop the Liberal corruption and bring back common sense to Ottawa.
The honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Ethics Commissioner confirmed he would reopen his investigation into the business dealings of the Liberal Minister for Employment. The minister is the owner of a number company that holds a 50% share in Global Health Imports, where he served as a partner before his election in 2021. This company is involved in numerous criminal offences, including fraud. Global News reported text messages from the minister's former business partner, Stephen Anderson, that show a mysterious Randy directing business operations in September of 2022. A time when the Minister of Employment with the same name was prohibited from taking any role with the company. Now, the minister has claimed that he has no knowledge of the identity of this other Randy. However, a whistleblower has revealed that the Randy in question was a partner, a public official, and that they were, in fact, the Minister of Employment. The minister's business associates could easily put this scandal to rest by telling us the identity of this mysterious other Randy. However, they refuse to reveal his true identity. Why won't the minister tell us who this other Randy is, what's his last name, and is he in this room at this very moment?
Order. Order. Don't forget, statements by members, very important times. I want to make sure I get the honourable member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle.
This week we are celebrating my grandfather's 100th birthday. A man who is imbued with audacity, unwavering positivity, and spirituality. Sardar Kundan Singh was born in 1924 at a time when equality for women was non-existent, but this did not deter him. Not only did he educate his sons, he was one of the first people in his city to put all 4 of his daughters through university. He faced immense pressure from friends, family, and neighbors to dissuade him. He did not waver, and because of his determination, other families started doing the same. His fight for the rights of women has been continuous all throughout his life. I am where I am because of him today. He set the example for us on how to live with dignity, self-respect, always have a sense of humor, and stay in high spirits no matter the circumstances. He is my heart and soul. Even though earlier this year he lost his vision and cannot see me, he is listening to me. Give him a beautiful, beautiful honor that I can, and I love you to the moon and back, Papaji. Thank you so much.
The honourable member for Churchill, Keewatin-Ukasky.
This government is playing with fire. Last week it was reported the Chief of Defence Staff, Wayne Eyre, complained that the use of military personnel to assist in wildfire operations is wickedly wasteful. Wickedly wasteful at a time of a climate emergency? As a Manitoban, I know just how much of a difference the Canadian military has made when all other resources have been exhausted in fighting major floods and wildfires. Now, when we're sending more troops to Latvia, our key military leader is essentially saying if it comes to forest fires and floods in Canada, good luck. This is unacceptable, as is the response of the Prime Minister. When I asked him about this in question period, he responded with a series of indecipherable platitudes. To the Prime Minister, take a stand. Make it clear that your government will reject any idea that helping in terms of forest fires and floods is wasteful. Finally, we need to reject the way in which we're increasingly sleepwalking into major policy decisions without considering their consequences. At a time when nothing less than the future of our planet is at stake, Canada is increasingly being part of the problem, not the solution when it comes to international conflicts and catastrophic climate change. Canadians deserve better.
The honourable member for Montarville. Mr. Speaker, the war continues in Ukraine. The horror continues for the Ukrainian people, to whom we reiterate all our solidarity. It is against this backdrop that this week Canada welcomes Alexandra Matvichuk, human rights activist and 2022 Nobel Peace Prize laureate. The Prime Minister met with her on Monday, and the Bloc Québécois had the honour of doing the same this morning. Her message is clear: more weapons and more justice for Ukrainians. She is asking Canada to increase its military aid. She is also asking Canada to share her thirst for justice for the 72,000 victims of war crimes. She demands that the Russian barbarians who committed and ordered these atrocities be brought to justice immediately before a special tribunal. She said, "We need Canada's weight to convince other countries that the time has come." We assure Ms. Matvichuk that she and Ukraine can count on the weight and support of the Bloc Québécois. In the name of peace and justice, Slava Ukraini.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
A new day means a new scandal for this tired Liberal government. This time it involves Liberal employment minister who needs to answer if he violated federal law by continuing business deals even after joining cabinet. In a conversation at his firm about contracts and cash, one of the firm's partners told someone asking for the money that a man named Randy would be available in 15 minutes for a partner's call. The employment minister was quick to say that the text conversation wasn't referencing him, it was someone else, the other Randy. It's a small company. He owned 50% of it. He used to be a partner. So let's see if we can find out who the other Randy is in a game of Guess Who. Is he tall? Does he wear glasses? Does he have brown hair or blonde hair or no hair? Does he have federal cabinet minister? Does he come from a city that rhymes with Smedmonton? Mr. Speaker, I think the other Randy probably has the same last name and the same job as the employment minister. So will the other Randy please stand up?
The honourable member for Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, Westmount.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, Canada is honoured to welcome to Ottawa the International Civil Aviation Organization leadership. Salvatore Chacitano, President of the ICAO Council, and Juan Carlos Salazar, Secretary General of ICAO. Canada is dedicated to supporting ICAO in pursuit of a safe, secure, sustainable, inclusive, and accessible global aviation system, and we value ICAO's positive impact on international civil aviation.
ICAO is a key component of the United Nations system and plays an essential role in supporting a rules-based multilateral order. Headquartered in Montreal, close to my riding, ICAO is the only UN specialized agency headquartered in Canada, and this year marks its 80th anniversary.
Today, Canada reaffirms its commitment to being a world-class host to ICAO and pledges to continue to work with ICAO and its member states to develop and implement the highest standards for global aviation. Merci.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Le Comité pour la Sécurité.
Mr. Speaker, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians has indicated that members of this House purposely helped hostile foreign actors. Canadians have a right to know who and what the information was.
The committee indicates there are members of this House that have knowingly worked for foreign hostile governments. Canadians have a right to know who and what is the information. Who are they?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition knows very well that no government, including the government of which he was a member, is going to discuss particularities of intelligence information publicly, so he knows better than that. But the good news, Mr. Speaker, is if he wanted to get the appropriate security clearance and be able to see the confidential report of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, he would be much more informed than he is now, and we would invite him to do so he wouldn't stand up and cast aspersions on the floor of the House of Commons without any information whatsoever.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we don't need secrets and confidentiality. That's what got us into this problem in the first place. What we need are the facts so that Canadians can judge. Just like in the case of the Green Slush Fund, the Auditor General revealed $123 million of spending that broke the rules, $59 million of projects that never should have been awarded money at all, $76 million in money gone to companies connected to the Liberal-appointed members, including $217,000 to the chair of the fund that was giving out the money. Will the government support our common sense plan to hand over all this information to the RCMP for a police investigation?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is no surprise that today the Conservatives don't want to talk about the economy. But we know that the economy is the issue that most concerns Canadians.
Right.
And that is why I am so glad to share some great news. Today, the Bank of Canada lowered interest rates. And it is thanks to our economically responsible fiscal plan. Our plan is working.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
After 9 years of this Prime Minister, with the support of the Bloc Québécois, Montreal is in a state of chaos, crime, drugs, and disorder. Children need police escorts to go to preschool. So will this government accept the Conservative demand to refuse the exemption to the criminal code in order to prevent supervised injection sites from opening next to preschools and schools? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, it's not surprising that the Conservative leader does not want to discuss the economy. But we know that the economy is the issue that Canadians care about the most. And that is why I'm so happy to share a piece of good news, which is that today the Bank of Canada lowered the benchmark interest rate.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
And interest rates remain 20 times higher they were when that member promised that they would go down. Remember when she said the big risk was deflation and low rates? Well, she was exactly wrong then, and she's even more wrong now. Mr. Speaker, 6 years ago, I said there was a carbon tax cover-up. The government wouldn't reveal the true cost of its carbon tax. Then they published information claiming everyone was better off. Now we find out that there is a secret report showing that with the economic costs considered, the vast majority of Canadians are paying more. Will the government end the gag order, stop the carbon tax cover-up, and release the report?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
You know, Mr. Speaker, it is just really sad and shameful that the Conservatives continue to talk down the Canadian economy and that they are unable to celebrate our great country. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, this has been a great week for Canada.
Yes.
First, the Oilers made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then today, the Bank of Canada lowered interest rates. Canada's on a roll, Mr. Speaker. Our plan is working.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Speaker, the government has put the Parliamentary Budget Officer under a gag order. In fact, I have a copy of the gag order right here. And it says, this is a letter from the Environment Minister to the Parliamentary Budget Officer. The department is providing information that is unpublished. As such, I request you to ensure that this information is used for your office's internal purposes only and is not published or further distributed. They don't want Canadians to know the true cost of the carbon tax. Why won't they end the gag order, stop the carbon tax cover-up, and release this report today?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the person who seems to be laboring under a gag order is the Conservative leader. And that gag order seems to prevent him from saying anything positive about our amazing country. The fact is, today is a day of really good news. The Bank of Canada has lowered interest rates. Canada is the first G7 country to lower rates. Our government's economically responsible plan has created the conditions that made that possible.
L'Honorable Député de la Prairie.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie.
L'Honorable Député de la Prairie.
The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, foreign interference is spreading its tendrils right into this House. The National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians has confirmed that MPs have been working under foreign influence right at the heart of our democracy. The committee has to keep things secret, but political parties don't, and they certainly need to take action. Please, spare us the list of what the government has already done against interference because we know it hasn't worked. What will the government do now? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for La Prairie for his question and his involvement not only in the HoC Commission, but I'd also like to thank his party and our other partners for the important work that's being done today. For example, to support Bill C-70 to strengthen our national security institutions and our collective capacity to recognize and fight foreign interference. So I'd like to thank him for that. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, this is important. The parties need to rise above the fray because among us there may be members who, knowingly or not, are working for other countries. That is extremely serious. I'm calling upon the Prime Minister and calling on all of the leaders of the opposition parties. If someone among us is under foreign influence rather than representing their fellow citizens, they don't belong here and should leave. What will the government do to make sure that happens? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I find it a little surprising that even the Bloc Québécois doesn't want to talk about the economy. Because I know that for Quebecers as well, the economy is the main issue. And today we have a piece of good news, which is that the Bank of Canada has decided to lower the key interest rate. That's good for Quebec. It's good for all of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
The allegation that there are MPs knowingly working for foreign governments to undermine our democracy is deeply serious. That's why I've requested a classified briefing to get more information. But the Prime Minister has known about this since March and has done nothing. And the Conservative leader doesn't even want to know what's going on, has refused this information. Why are these two leaders turning away, looking away from foreign interference when it serves them?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I thank our colleague, the Leader of the NDP, for his important work and the work of his House Leader in setting up, for example, the commission led by Justice Hogg. I'm very pleased to hear, Mr. Speaker, that he's interested, having received obviously the appropriate security clearance, to get all of the confidential information that's behind the important work of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians. Our government created that committee. We appreciate its work. We value its recommendations. We have always acted to put in place strengthened measures when we receive thoughtful analysis, like we did from the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, and we'll continue to do that important work.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Known since March and has done nothing. These
allegations that MPs may have received assistance from a foreign government, that is very troubling. And the Prime Minister has known about this since March 22nd, but has done nothing. And as for the Conservative leader, he doesn't even want to hear about it. Why are these two leaders content with closing their eyes to the reality? Perhaps it's because they think foreign interference favors their chances to win. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I thought that the NDP shared our concerns about the cost of living. And that's why it's very surprising to me that the NDP doesn't want to talk about the Canadian economy. Because the reality, Mr. Speaker, is that today we have good news. The Bank of Canada has decided to lower the key interest rate. And that's thanks to our accountable economic plan.
The Honourable Member for Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the NSICOP report makes clear the Prime Minister was advised back in 2018 of the national security threats against Parliament from hostile foreign states. He was advised that measures in place at the time were not sufficient. He was advised to take further action. 3 times, the senior civil service asked for his approval for action to protect Parliament in December 2019, in December 2020, and again in February 2022. 3 times the Prime Minister withheld that approval. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I think our honourable colleague knows very well that our government was the first government to put in place a series of measures to strengthen our institutions and our democracy from the threat of foreign interference. He knows very well that that threat was identified publicly in 2013 in a CSIS report when the Leader of the Opposition was responsible for democratic institutions, and they did absolutely nothing, Mr. Speaker. So I find it somewhat ironic that my friend would stand in his place and say that our government, the first government to act in this important area and continue to strengthen these measures, hasn't done enough.
The Honourable Member for Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the report reveals that parliamentarians, including members of this House, knowingly and wittingly assisted a hostile foreign state in Parliament and in our elections to the detriment of the people of Canada. This is shocking. And Mr. Speaker, I can't believe the following needs to be said. Parliamentarians' duty is not to a foreign state, but to the people of Canada. Simple question. Will the Prime Minister release the names of these parliamentarians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety and Democratic Institutions.
Monsieur le Président, mon collègue, c'est...
Mr. Speaker, we all know that no responsible government would reveal names under these types of confidential circumstances. So it's simply not true that a government that cares about Canada's security and our institutions would do such a thing. I am very pleased that there are parliamentarians in this House who have the right security clearance to get all the information that underlies the NCCOP report. I would invite my colleagues to read that report properly. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, this government has tried to deny and diminish the scope of foreign interference in Canada. But the NCCOP report unmasks this Prime Minister's guilt and indifference. The report revealed that parliamentarians, including MPs in this House, knowingly helped hostile foreign countries to interfere in this Parliament and elections. That all goes against the interests of Canada and Canadians. It's shocking and unacceptable. This Prime Minister has the power and the duty, especially, to do something about that. Will he reveal the names of these MPs and the information we need to know? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Once again, Mr. Speaker, it's concerning to see how irresponsible our colleagues across the way are. They are asking for something that is simply not done. I would ask my colleague to speak to his own leader and ask him to accept the government's invitation to receive the appropriate security clearance in order to be able to see all of the highly classified information that our colleagues on the National Security Committee have seen. That would perhaps be a more honest way to make a point.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
The Liberal defence of the carbon tax is in complete shambles. First, they only want Canadians to focus on the direct costs of the carbon tax and ignore all the secondary effects like smaller paychecks and higher prices, as if Canadians have a choice of which carbon tax costs they have to pay. But now we learned that there's a secret report that does show the true cost. The Parliamentary Budget Officer says that it proves that he's right, that the vast majority of Canadians are worse off paying the tax than any rebate they receive. The Liberals claim that it proves they're right. There's an easy way to settle this. Why won't the government just release the report so Canadians can decide?
The Honourable House Leader for the Government.
Mr. Speaker, math is really not the long suit of the party over there. The PBO has specifically said and repeated time after time, you would think they'd understand that 8 out of 10 Canadians are better off under the price on pollution than in the affected provinces. The fact is, though, Mr. Speaker, they talk of gag orders. We haven't seen the member for Peace River Westlock in a long, long time. And what about the former chair of the Status of Women Committee? We haven't seen her either. They are not anytime going to give less.
Just need to remind individuals we can't say whether someone's here or not, so just to be careful on those lines. The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Apparently answering questions doesn't seem to be this minister's long suit, Mr. Speaker. Their responses here are completely ridiculous. They claim that this report exonerates their position, but they won't release it. This is a little bit like someone who's accused of a crime walking into court saying they have an amazing